Hi, I'm going to read Clementine and the Family Meeting by Sarah Pennypacker. Chapter 1. The very first thing Margaret said when she sat down next to me on the bus Monday morning was that I looked terrible. You have droopy eye bags and a pasty complexion. Absolutely no glow. What's the matter? I'm having a nervous breakdown, I told her. Our family meeting sign is up, and I have to wait until tonight to find out if I'm in trouble. Of course you're in trouble, Margaret said. Probably something really big. Bright pink blush and a sparkly eyeshadow is what I recommend. This winter vacation, Margaret visited her father in Hollywood, California. When she got back, I had to listen for 300 hours to how great his new girlfriend was. She's the makeup artist for his commercials, Margaret said, all melty-voiced, as if she was the one who was in love with this Heather person. Someone who puts makeup on people isn't an artist, I informed Margaret. My mother is an artist, not her. Heather is too an artist, Margaret snorted, and she's been teaching me some of her professional techniques. Then Margaret had blabbered on and on about advanced lip gloss tips and the proper application of eyeliner until I thought I would die of boredom. Whenever Margaret talks about makeup, I feel exactly the way I felt when we took my grandparents through the airport so that they could move to Florida. Lonely. Even though Margaret isn't going anywhere when she talks about makeup, I feel like I'm back at the airport again and she's getting on a plane for a long trip to somewhere without me. I don't need any blush, I yelled, a little louder than I meant to. I don't need any makeup at all. I just need to know what I'm in trouble about. Margaret rolled her eyes at me and then dug around in her pocketbook. She pulled out a pointy silver tube that looked dangerous, like a bullet. Margaret, I gasped, are you putting on lipstick? Margaret smeared the lipstick on her, pooched her lips out, and snucked them up at me. Yep, she said. Smuck, smuck, smuck. So what? I'll take it off before we get there. And this, I don't know if you can see it, right here, there she is, smooching her lips. Margaret, I cried, you are 10 years old. Margaret had had her 10th birthday while she was on that Hollywood vacation. Since then, she'd been acting like she was 25 or something. Sometimes I didn't even recognize her. Plus, I didn't get to go to a party for her. Margaret smucked her Chinese pink lips at me again. Heather says I'm very mature for my age. She waved her lipstick tube in front of my face. You want some? I tapped my lips. Mouth germs, I warned her. I can feel them crawling around. Margaret yanked the lipstick back in horror. She spent the rest of the bus ride wiping everything in her pocketbook with hand sanitizer. Being a Germaniac was about the only thing I recognized about the new Margaret. I opened my backpack and pulled out my important papers, folder, and found a good surprise. The science fair project report Waylon and I had written was still in there. I'm supposed to keep it until the end of the project, and every day that it's still in my backpack feels like a miracle. As I started reading over the report, I calmed down. This is because lately I really like science class. I didn't always. In the beginning, science class was a big disappointment. Let me tell you. On the first day of 3rd grade, Mrs. Resnick, the science teacher, had started talking about what a great year it was going to be. I looked around the science room. No monkeys with funnel hats and electrodes. No alien pods leaking green slime. No human heads on platters under glass jars talking to each other, like I'd seen in a movie once. And don't bother telling my parents about it because I was grounded for a week already, and so was Uncle Frank, who brought me to the movie. No smoking test tubes, no sizzling magnetic rays, no rocket launch controls, just some posters on the walls and a bunch of tall tables with sinks. And if all you would do in a room like this was wash your hands. Margaret had told me she liked science class, and now I knew why. Margaret says, let's go wash our hands, the way other people say, let's go to a party and eat cake. Does anyone have any questions? Mrs. Resnick had asked the first day. I sure did. I wanted to ask, you call this a science room? But instead I just said, excuse me, I think there's been a mistake, in my most polite voice. A mistake? Mrs. Resnick asked. Right, I said, I'm in the wrong science class. The wrong science room? She repeated. I nodded. I want the one with the invisibility chamber and mind control buttons and mutant brains splattered on the ceiling. The one with the experiments. I want that one too, Waylon said. I gave him a big smile. Oh, there are plenty of experiments going on here, Mrs. Resnick said. We're going to have quite a year. Mrs. Resnick seemed nice. So I didn't tell her the other bad news, that she had the wrong hair. Scientists are supposed to have wild, sciencey hair. Here is a picture of that. Can you see that? She has wild, wild hair, sciencey hair. But hers was just kind of normal supermarket-y, television motherly kind of hair. Probably she was embarrassed about that. Now, though, I like science class. Mrs. Resnick is a good teacher, even with her normal hair. I like our science fair project, and I like our rat, 18. I like that I got Waylon for a partner. All the kids begged him to be their partner because he's a scientist kid in 3rd grade. But he picked me because I'm the only one who believes he's going to be a superhero when he grows up. And today, I had an extra thing to like about science class. For 40 whole minutes. I wouldn't have to think about our family meeting or Margaret's lipstick smucking. We're here, I said. Wipe your mouth off, Margaret. Margaret scowled. But she wiped off the lipstick and went into school. It was an extra boring day. But finally, it was time to line up to go to the science room. As soon as we got there, I saw that something was wrong. I ran over to the rats' cages. 18's missing, I cried. I shook the trail mix we used as treats and called for him while Waylon poked through the sawdust. He's really missing all right, Waylon announced. And here is the empty cage. What are you thinking? Where do you think where do you think 18 went? Mrs. Resnick came over and frowned into the cage. They were all here Friday when I left. Check through the bedding again. I'll bet he's just hiding. I feathered away the wood curls more carefully. And then I saw. Look, I said. In the back corner, under the water bottle, a rat belly-sized hole had been chewed through the plastic floor. Mrs. Resnick was really frowning now. He's probably gone all weekend. Still, let's search the room. We looked everywhere. We looked in the 2nd graders' volcano models. We plowed through the trays of seeds the 4th graders were germinating. We poked through the 5th graders' crystal collections. We even looked in the paper towel dispenser. No 18. After a while, the other kids had to go back to their rat training, and only Waylon and I kept looking. When the bell rang, we still hadn't found him. Maybe he'll show up when I feed the other rats this afternoon, Mrs. Resnick said. You two head back to your class now. Waylon and I said all right and went back to 3B. But it wasn't all right. A little while ago, my kitten Moisturizer got lost in Boston. All the bad feelings I had when he was missing, worrying about him being scared or getting hurt, and about whether it was my fault, came back over me. All day long I worried about that little rat. I had to hear about 100 Clementine, pay attention from my teacher. And every time I was paying attention. I was paying attention to Maria's chunky boots that looked like tires on the bottom and worrying about someone stomping on 18. I was paying attention out the window to all that ice and snow and imagining how cold 18 would be if he'd gotten outside. When the janitor came down the hall, I was paying attention to his gigantic vacuum cleaner and thinking how he wouldn't even notice if a little tiny white rat got sucked up in it. After that, I started wondering if our school had a trash compactor, and that got me so worried I almost gave myself a heart attack. Finally, after 300 hours, the school's over bell rang. The school's over bell rang, sorry. I got my stuff from the coat rack and asked Mr. D. Matz if I could go back to the science room. He pointed to the clock. Don't miss the bus. The bell rings at 2:15 and the buses open their doors at 2:20, and my bus is the second to leave, which is at 2:28. So I had 13 minutes. I won't, I said. I set my inside clock for 12 minutes because one had already been wasted talking to my teacher. My inside clock keeps perfect time, and so I never am late for anything. Okay, fine. I'm late a lot, but it's only because I forget to set my inside clock. But I was remembering now. I ran down the hall, even though the rule is no running in the hall, and I was there in 51 seconds. I dumped my coat and stuff on top of the bookshelf and skidded over to the cage. He didn't come back? I asked. Who? Mrs. Resnick asked. Our rat. Who's missing? I reminded her in a patient, kind voice, the voice I wish people would use with me if I forget something. Didn't he come back when you fed them? She said, no, sorry. I sprinkled some trail mix outside his cage in case he came back, and then my inside clock said it was time to go. On the bus, I worried about 18 so much, my head hurt. There she is, shoving her jacket up. Okay.